My name is Jim. I'm with Channel Innovations. The guys at the shop call me Sarge, so that's fine too. Just no ugly words. Anyway. I am a retired fireman. I retired out of the Air Force in '08, so that was my job in the service. So I appreciate what you guys do. I really do. All right. We'll start off with the basic checkout procedures, the stuff that you guys need to be responsible for as far as checking before you start the machine. The key for this door, I guess, is kept in this little lock box. Yep. Is that correct? Yep. Okay. All right. The biggest thing that you need to check is your oil sight glass. And that's that sight glass right here. Where the line is now is about where we keep it when we change the oil or we top it off. It does have it has a safety backup in it, that if the oil goes below a certain level, the machine won't start. If the machine is running and that oil kind of goes down a little bit, it will shut the machine down. So about half full to 3/4 full, where the line is at now, is perfect. That's where the oil needs to be. As far as in here, that's all you need to check. Okay. It's a synthetic oil that we use. It's a Mako specific synthetic oil. They blend their oil specifically for their stationary and mobile units. So you can't go to a store somewhere, AutoZone, wherever, and buy a synthetic oil. It won't work. That oil is developed with a lot of added cleaners in it, because as it goes through the system, it really, really cleans the insides of these blocks real well. Okay? Okay, this is your basic panel. You got your emergency stop, your e-stop button. This button makes us a lot of money. Okay? If you go to start the machine won't start. Your 4-stage pressure gauge is low. You know it's low. You just can't figure it out. It's the first thing you check. Check your e-stop button. If the e-stop button is pushed in, it's not going to start. Just reach up and pull it straight out. Okay, and that disengages it. All of the stuff that you have up top as far as your monitor, there's only one piece that you need to concern yourself with, okay? And that's your sample switch. As the machine is running, after you get the machine started and it runs 15, 20 to 30 seconds, reach up, turn your switch to sample, okay? When you're done with the machine for the day, you're not going to run it for a while. You see here it's been left in sample, turn it back to off. Okay, back to the switch, what we were just talking about. When the machine is running, after you start the machine, after about 15, 20 seconds, turn your switch to sample. When you turn your switch to sample, that's allowing your machine and your CO monitor to sample the air as it's pulling through the machine, okay? That's what's going to give you the readings on your monitor, okay? Once you're done for the day, you're completely finished, you have no more bottles to fill, all your banks are topped off. 15 to 20 seconds before you shut your machine down, turn this switch back to off. As you do that, you'll notice the little ball in this meter and the needle in this gauge. You'll see them, they'll kind of jump up, then they'll start going, and they'll go all the way back down to 0. That's purging the system. That's pulling that air out of that sensor, basically. Okay? All right. Starting procedures. We'll go over some starting procedures. This trailer has been rewired a little bit different than the rest of ours, because this trailer has to be preheated before you turn your switch on, okay? If you turn your switch on and then preheat it, your fuel solenoid is going to time out. Once your fuel solenoid times out, you got to shut it back off and go through the whole procedure again. Preheat it before you toss your switch. On the days that are a little bit colder, mash your preheat button and hold it for 15 to 20 seconds, 1 1000, 2 1000, and so on. On warmer or hotter days, you still have to preheat it. It doesn't matter. Preheat it for about 10 seconds, okay? Once you preheat it, turn your switch on, you'll hear the fuel solenoid kick in. Once it kicks in, start it. And it's going to kick in almost immediately. It's right away, okay? Once the machine starts, let it run. If it shuts back off, you don't have to preheat it the second, third, or fourth time or whatever. Turn your switch on, go back to start. Every time you turn your switch off, that fuel solenoid is going to reset, okay? Y'all want to run through the startup real quick? We'll start, I'll show you how to start it up and then let it run for a minute, then we'll shut it back off. Okay? Preheat, 15 to 20 seconds. It's the blue button next to your key switch. Hear the fuel solenoid? Okay, that's all it is. I know you couldn't see it, but when this was in sample, this needle was reading right at 5. When I shut it off, it's not going to move until the machine starts and it sucks some air through that sensor. As soon as it does that, the needle dropped and it cleared itself out. Okay, now, once the machine is running, let it get warm, let that oil get to flowing pretty good, and then whatever operation you need to do, that's when you start it, okay? Now, on your banks, you got 2 valves across the top. You got from valves across the bottom. 2 valves is exactly what it says. Start the machine, you open the 2 valve, that valve is sending air to your tanks, your storage tanks. You got 4 storage bottles in the bottom of the trailer, okay? From valves is the valves that goes from your compressor or your storage tank back to your hopper that's on the back. Okay, now, you can fill a storage bottle at the same time as you're using a storage bottle to fill bottles in the hopper. But the tank that you're filling here cannot be the same tank that you're using to fill in the back. You got to use them separate. So like on this one, you got bank number 1 that's got to be topped off. Open your 2 valve to bank number 1, and then use bank 2, 3, or 4 to fill bottles in your hopper. Now, the way we suggest you do it, however y'all want to do it is up to you. The way we suggest you to do it is before you even start your trailer, exhaust your air supply. Get everything out of your storage tanks that you can get out of them, okay? If you exhaust your air supply, you don't have anything left, but you still need to fill bottles, you can fill bottles from the compressor straight to the hopper without having to use any of this. So not having air is not a concern, okay? Exhaust everything that you can out of your storage, start your compressor, open your 2 valves, and let your compressor run to top your tanks back off. Mako recommends these machines run a minimum of an hour a week. I know a lot of places don't do that because they want to save wear and tear. We've got machines that sit for a year and a half at a time, not even be started. That destroys that block. That moisture builds up in there, just like on a car engine. Once those pistons get to moving, they heat up instantly. That moisture turns to rust, and what does it do to the cylinder walls? It scratches and scores them, then you're blowing oil by. So it's very, very damaging not to run these machines, okay? Once you got all your bottles topped back off, you're ready to go, I'll show you how to fill bottles, okay? To fill bottles, do you want me to stay over here in the shadow? Okay. To fill a bottle, like I said, start with your banks on the bottom. Standard, basic cascading principles, okay? Find your bank that's got the highest amount of pressure. Open that bank, set your regulator. To do that, when you open the bank, you'll have inlet pressure. That's the pressure that is coming from your storage or your compressor. Set your regulator, now you got your outlet pressure. When you set your regulator, y'all know that a bottle, if you hot fill a bottle, they heat up. The faster you fill it, the hotter it gets. Same thing with these in the bottom. The faster you fill them, the hotter they get. Set your regulator at about 4,700 PSI. Okay? What that's going to do, when you fill your bottles in the back, the bottle cools down, it's going to settle down right about 4,500 PSI, right where you need it, instead of having to come back later and top them off again. Set your regulator, you got your outlet pressure, put your bottles in the hopper, and I'm going to teach y'all a new procedure here in just a minute as far as hooking your bottles up. We've come across some issues with some other machines, but I'll show you what to do. Put your bottles in the back, hook everything up. Once you do that, start filling your bottles. We'll go through that here in just a minute, okay? Once you get your pressure set from the highest bank, shut that bank back off. Then go to your bank. If you got a bank that's got a lower pressure, start with that one and work your way up. Go from the lowest to the highest. Exhaust your lowest one first and then move up to your highest pressure, okay? Now, valves. These valve knobs are plastic, okay? Brent can tell you, they're plastic and they break very, very, very easy, okay? The knobs used to have, years ago, they had a little metal insert in them that they wouldn't crack or they wouldn't damage the knob. But what it would do is guys who are they'll wrench down on that valve, and when you start to wrench down too tight, it'll snap that stem off. When you snap the stem off inside that valve, the whole valve has got to come out instead of just rebuilding it. Very expensive. So they went to all plastic knobs. When you close the knob, finger tight only, that's all it takes. The back of the seat that shuts the air off is a hard plastic. So once you hand tighten it, it's going to seal the back of that valve until it starts to wear out. They're going to wear out over time anyway, but not right away. Okay? When you open a valve, open it all the way, then back it off about a quarter turn. We've got guys out there that open it all the way, and they'll wrench it open because they forget which way is open and closed. Okay? So all the way, then back it off about a quarter turn. If you want to fill your bottles a little bit slower, open it up, and then go however fast you want to fill it. The slower you fill it, the cooler the bottle is going to stay. Okay? All right. Lowest to highest is what you're filling your bottles with. Once you've exhausted all your air supply, start your compressor, open your two valves. Now, a lot of departments will open every single one of the banks and fill them all at the same time. Whether you do it one at a time or you do it all four at a time, it's going to equal out to the exact same amount of time. But here's the difference. You open all four of them, 99.9% of the time, you're going to think of something else you got to do and you're going to walk off. When you walk off, you're going to forget about this. And if something happens and you're not close by, you're not here to shut it off by hitting the emergency stop switch. One bank at a time. That's what Mako recommends. Y'all do it however you want to do it, okay? One bank at a time, and that way you keep it in mind, okay, I got to be here for the next few minutes to shut that one off and open the next one, okay? A lot of our trailers has a low idle switch. Yes?
Why do we have to hit the emergency stop?
If something happens, let's say you blow a high-pressure airline, the first thing that somebody's going to look for is something to shut the machine down. That's why they put a red knob on there. Hit the knob and walk off. Walk off, Brent gives us a call, we come down and repair it. If for some reason it starts dumping oil out all at the bottom and the machine hasn't shut off yet, before it gets to the point where it shuts itself off because the block just seized up, hit your emergency stop, walk off and give us a call. So you can do that, or you can turn that key switch. But the one that the most people go after is that E-stop. Hit the E-stop, okay?
Do you have a lot of catastrophic failures like that?
I personally have had one. and it's up in Columbia County, Lake City. Something was wrong with the block itself. They kept trying to run it and kept trying to run it. I got there, was working with them. They had it running, and the diesel engine ran away. It just took off. No, the e-stop didn't work. The switch didn't work. Nothing. And it was going at a very, very high speed. I had to run around the other side, open it up, and shove a rag down in the intake to choke off the air to it. So it got my attention. Okay. Pardon? Yeah. Okay. We filled the bottles. The bottles are full. Showed you the starting. Showed you how to set your regulator. Now, to fill a bottle, we're going to go through this a little bit different than what you're normally used to. You have quick disconnects on your lines, which is it's a good thing. So, before you even open your hopper, set your regulator. Get all of this over here set first. A lot of guys go straight to the hopper, hook everything up, open all the valves, close the hopper, then come back and do this, okay? What we have found is when you hook your bottles up, these valves are only designed to flow air one direction. If you shoot air back to it the other direction, it blows the seats out, okay? Get everything set. Open your bottle, get your inlet pressure, get your outlet pressure, keep your fill valve closed, and then do whatever you need to down here for what you're getting ready to do, okay? Now that this is set, you got air sitting right on this side of that valve. 4,700 pounds of pressure. Whatever you put in the hopper won't overcome that pressure, okay? Open your hopper. Y'all want to walk by this way? Yeah, okay.
There's a bottle on the side there that they're not empty, but you can use it as a demo if you need to.
Okay. Open your hopper. Hook your bottles up. Quick disconnect. Once you get your bottles hooked up, open your two valves. Before you shut your hopper, go back to your fill valve, which is this valve here. Crack it open about one turn. What that's going to do, as soon as you close that hopper, the air on that side is going to overtake the air in the bottle. Okay? Hook your bottles up. Turn your fill valve on. Close your hopper. You'll hear the air exchange, and then come back over and open your fill valve as much as you want to open it. If you want to open it all the way, if you're in a hurry and got to get stuff back out, that's fine. Open it a little bit, then just let your bottles fill, okay? Once that's done, close your fill valve, go back to your hopper, shut the two valves off that are inside the hopper. Jeez. Close these two valves here. Once you close those valves, crack your bleeder. Y'all don't have to open the valve on your bottle, do you? Is it the quick fills? Okay.
Yeah, you still have to open the valve.
Okay. Once you shut these valves off, turn the valves that's on your bottle, shut those all the way off. Before you try to disconnect the quick disconnect, bleed the lines. That's going to be the line between this valve and your bottle. If you try to disconnect it before you bleed them, once you disconnect it, your fill whip can cause some damage. Okay? Disconnect your bottles, make sure your valves are closed, close your bleeders back off, shut your hopper. Now, a lot of departments won't even shut the hopper. I had to rebuild one for Tampa yesterday, had to tear the whole fill station apart to get to the shocks. What that's doing here with the hopper open, it's leaving constant pressure on the shocks that are inside the hopper, okay? In order for us to replace the shocks on a trailer, the whole back of this trailer has to come off. Completely disassembled to get to the shocks, okay? When you're done, just close your hopper. That takes the pressure off of that shock and lets it expand, okay? Bottles are full. To refill your storage bottles, just like we said a while ago, open your two valves, start your compressor, let it run. Now, if you're in a hurry, you got the trailer somewhere or you got the trailer here, you're in a hurry, you've exhausted your air supply, and you got to get bottles back out really quick to get back out wherever you got to go, you can fill the hopper straight from the compressor without opening or touching any of these. Leave all of these shut. Open your bypass valve. Your bypass valve bypasses all your storage. Open your bypass valve, set your regulator, inlet pressure, outlet pressure 4,700 PSI, then go back to the same steps as filling your bottles. Very simple, very easy. Now, a lot of departments will take and top off their storage, shut them off, and leave them off. Then they operate full time from the bypass to the compressor to the hopper. Not the way to do it. The bypass should be used in an emergency, or if something happens to your storage, you got a bottle leaking, whatever the case, should only be used if it's absolutely necessary. Here's why. 2009, we had a city department try to sue us because they said their air was bad. Our firefighters were getting sick, and they were getting sick off the air. What had happened was they had topped off all of their storage, shut the storage tanks off at the storage valves, and hadn't opened them in 3 years. All the air, even though the hydro was good on the bottle, all the air in there had gotten moist and stale. They were breathing that mess because the machine was down. We had to go fix it, so they was using the air in the bottles. They got sick. So, anyway.
Did they not sample their air? Or did they just sample off the compressor?
They would sample it straight off the compressor. So fill your storage. Use your storage bottles first. Yes.
So, is that sensor picking up anything just out of the compressor or out of the bottles?
It's going to pick up stuff coming out of the compressor. Okay. What is going into the bottles has already been through the sensor. As the compressor is running, whether you're filling your bottles in the back or you're filling your storage bottles, the air that's going through there that's in the bottles now has already been through your monitor. So what's in there now should be clean. If that monitor didn't go off, then you should be good. So, what else?
When you guys do your quarterly samples, you're sampling out of the bottles, though, correct? Well, let me put that.
I do.
Okay.
Okay, now.
Craig did too. I saw him open the bottles.
Yes. The reason that now Lawrence Factor, the company that does the testing,
Right.
They say sample it out of the compressor.
But that's not a true sample.
My opinion is what's going through that compressor, going into that air bottle, into that sampling kit, is not what you're pulling out of these bottles to put into your air pack.
Right.
Like today, I'll sample off of one bank. 3 months from now, I'll come back and sample off the next bank. I'll move them around. That way, if you have a bottle that's collecting moisture somehow, or it's got something in it that shouldn't be, then hopefully we can pick it up ahead of time. So I sample it out of your storage bottles.
Should we be dumping those storage bottles?
There is a requirement at NFPA. I don't remember if it says every 6 months or every year. That's another good reason that when you're using this, to use the air in here first, because it's going to rotate that air out. Okay. A while ago when I said not to use the same bottle that you're trying to fill, to refill, to use to fill your bottles in the back, if you're using the same bottle, all it does is cycle the air through those valves. It cycles it and pushes it out through the back. It takes away from filling the actual bottle itself. So that's why you use separate bottles, if you're topping one off versus filling air packs in the back. What else? Any questions?